Hey y'all, Bill Quirk with Shoot GTR and the Defensive Training Group. Here today to talk to you about an interesting thing that popped up recently. We did a survey, an online survey through our email list, talking about training out at the range here. And looking at the responses, several very interesting things kind of popped up. Most notably, and the point of this video, is we realized that a lot of you are not really aware of all of the different training opportunities that we have out here at Shoot GTR, both through Shoot GTR and also through DTG, the Defensive Training Group. So want to take just a couple of minutes and talk about all of those different opportunities to make sure that you're aware of what we do out here and the potential to just go as far as you want on your training journey. You've all heard me say that training is a journey, not a destination, and that journey goes for a long, long time. Bunch of different classes. We do classes in handgun, carbine, shotgun. We have classes that focus on movement within a structure, classes that deal with how you work around a vehicle, lady-specific groups, competition-themed classes, the whole 9 yards. We do a lot of different things out here. So to kind of start at the beginning and work all the way through, our introductory class that most people know about is Defensive Handgun 1. It used to be our Concealed Weapons Permit class. And that is mostly in the classroom, talks a lot about the law, nomenclature for the firearm, safety, your fundamentals of shooting the handgun. We come out on the range and do a real quick session there. Going along, continuing on in your handgun training, then we have Defensive Handgun 2 that we do out here, and that's a little bit different. So that focuses on the concealed carry lifestyle. We'll teach you how to draw from concealment, since that is a big part of carrying concealed. And then we end with a force on instructor scenario that gives you a chance to apply some of these things, not in a right or wrong or a win or lose type situation. It's all learning, getting you to open your eyes to the realities of things that you might, it's unlikely, but you might have to face someday in a worst case scenario. Going over to the DTG side for handgun, I have handgun fundamentals, reactive handgun fundamentals, reactive handgun applications. So your fundamentals, the basics of running, in this case, a handgun as a defensive tool. Applications classes are classes where you apply the fundamentals to more complex situations. So you might be shooting with only one hand, whereas in fundamentals, it was all with two hands. We might increase the distance, increase the speed, things of that nature. I have extreme reactive handgun, which deals with the extremes of where you might use a handgun in a defensive situation. So extreme close quarters, that 1.5 yard type situation, the clinch, and also at extended distance, what people would consider to be outside of the realm of a defensive handgun. So 40, 50 yards, that type of thing, which not likely, but it has happened. So something you want to be exposed to. We've got low light reactive handgun, which teaches you how to use your handgun as a defensive tool in conjunction with artificial light sources, so handheld lights or weapon mounted lights. And we go through all those different things. Moving into carbine, same type of progression there. We have basic rifle out here at Shoot GTR, that's taught by Stephen Roberts. And excellent class if you're just getting into your rifle and you want to learn about how does it work, what the nomenclature is, how do you zero it, and then start using this in more of an applied fashion. That's a great class for you to get your feet wet. Going over to the DTG side, I have reactive carbine fundamentals, just like with handgun fundamentals, learning how to run that as a defensive tool. That goes up to reactive carbine applications. I have low light reactive carbine. I have a mid-range reactive carbine that in a lot of cases when you hear mid-range, people are talking about 400 to 600 yards. When I was asked by several clients to put together a mid-range class, I wanted to be true to my roots and what I am. I don't purport to be a sniper. I was never a sniper. That's not my wheelhouse. I'm a door kicker that used to do that type of stuff. And every now and then we had a longer engagement. But for me, mid-range refers to 50 to 100 yards. So what we're looking at there is the defensive use of a carbine, which is generally going to be pretty close in. And all of a sudden, the situation requires you to do a somewhat longer shot of 50 to 100 yards. So run the gamut all the way through with the carbine. Shotgun, that was a specific question that was, or a specific point that was brought up in the survey. People said, hey, I'd like to see a shotgun class offered. I have been offering reactive shotgun fundamentals for many, many years. And this curriculum is based on the stuff that I used to teach my cops and my task force officers. It's a great class. We would see 15, 20-year law enforcement veterans come out and in one day shoot more through their shotgun than they had their entire career up to that point. You get a lot of good trigger time on the shotgun. And it's a good class. One of the things that it really points out is the shotgun is a much more complex tool than people give it credit for. There are different ways to load it. With your handgun and your carbine, generally gun runs dry, you insert a new magazine, charge it, and get back in the fight. With a shotgun, depending on where you are in the, with your ammunition on board in the magazine tube, you may tube load or you may have to port load if you're completely dry. So you have to be really switched on, get a lot of reps in the different ways to manipulate this thing in order to be truly effective. And a lot of people have a shotgun for home defense, but really don't know how to effectively use it in that unlikely scenario, that worst case scenario. Moving on from there, we have more specific niche type classes. I talked about the low light reactive handgun, low light reactive carbine. We're now getting into offering night vision classes, and that's something that we've just started in this past year. But allowing people that have night vision devices, NVGs, and IR lasers on their rifles, generally sometimes handguns, allowing them the opportunity to come out and learn how to properly use those and then use those in the dark. We have, on the DTG side, I've got a couple of classes. One's called Stress Drills in CQB, Close Quarters Battle. The other one's all CQB. And those teach you how to work within a structure. So I have a shoot house, a modular shoot house that I put up over here on my bay, and I teach you how to effectively clear that structure, both as an individual and in a partner type situation. And it's not presented from the perspective of a SWAT team or anything along those lines. It is presented from the perspective of the end users we have out here. So a home defense type situation, and I lay out those parameters. In an active shooter situation where you're trying to extricate yourself from an office complex or from a store or something, how do you get from point A to point B effectively as safely as possible? So that's what those classes deal with. I have a vehicle out here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that's something I'm gesturing to. And I have classes that teach you how to fight in and around the vehicle, how to get your gun out, how to fight your way out of that vehicle, all those different types of things. And you might think, well, you know, what's hard about that? Well, depending on exactly how this transpires, little things like how do you remove your seatbelt without getting tangled up? How do you open the door in such a way that it doesn't bounce back and hit you in the face as you're trying to leave the vehicle? These little things that aren't necessarily, you know, incredibly complex type of lessons, but until you've been exposed to them, until we've talked about them, until you practice them, they're not going to be something that you could readily access if you were to need to. We have competition themed classes. We're just about to re-initiate on those. Not sure if that's the right word, but we're gonna start offering those again, is what I'm trying to say. And as many of you know, Janelle Weathers used to be our competition guru, and unfortunately she passed away a while back, and we haven't been offering them, but we're going to get back into them, and Jimmy Ho is going to actually be our point for that, and he's going to start offering both an introductory competition class as well as a level 1 competition class. We have lots of lady-centric type of training opportunities. We've got the Loaded Ladies, which is something that I teach, and that is a ladies-only structured practice session I do generally once a month on a Sunday, usually the third Sunday or thereabouts. And then we have Castle and A Girl and a Gun, which are other training-oriented, lady-centric types of organizations. So a lot of different possibilities out here. A lot of different things that we can do. The possibilities are endless, okay? Once you've gone through a lot of this stuff, have a really good foundational base. The last class in the handgun series, and I didn't mention this one earlier, is Defensive Handgun 3, and that's all scenarios. So now that you have an idea how to access your pistol from concealment, you've got an idea of how to move through a structure. Your situational awareness skills have been honed and developed. All these different types of things. Then a scenario-based class where it's no live fire, it's all scenario. That gives you a chance to kind of put all that to the test. And you don't have to go through all this. This isn't a progression where you've got to do this class, then this class, then this class, then this class. You can bounce around depending on your interest, depending on your needs. You can take multiple classes or one class multiple times. And people go, why would I do that? And what I say is, it's kind of like reading a book for a second or third time, or seeing a movie for a second or third time. The first time, you're kind of overwhelmed with all the information, all the details, the big explosions and whatnot. And the second, third, fourth, fifth time, whatever, that you've been exposed to this, now you start picking up other stuff that you weren't ready to see initially. So even if you just want to stick with handgun and go through those classes multiple times. When I started my training journey, my mentor had a class that was comparable to my reactive handgun fundamentals, and I took that class 7 times before I actually started to teach it with him. And I learned something new every single time. Because you got to understand that, just like I've said to you, training is a journey, not a destination. My teaching is constantly evolving as well. I'm not standing still. I'm learning new stuff. I am growing as a shooter because I am a perpetual student, just as I'm a teacher. So I'm getting better. I'm learning new things. I'm evolving based on new lessons that are coming in from the street and whatnot. And my lesson plans are evolving along those lines. I'm tweaking things. I'm changing things based on the current landscape, if you will. So you take a class again, it's going to be a different class, and you may be in a different place, in a different, have a different perspective and be able to get something new out of it. So, as always, if you have any questions whatsoever, do not hesitate to reach out to me directly. Give us a comment at the bottom here. Please give us a like, give us a share, follow us, because we're going to keep doing content like this, trying to push the word out. And y'all stay safe.